as you know, if you need to take a break, out the hall to the right or the restrooms. If we need to vacate this room for any reason, it's down the steps, out the front door to the left, and then everybody gathers behind this building. Seemingly have made it through another year without any emergency evacuation, so that's always a good thing. For those watching on the website, if you go to the advisory panel tab and advisory panel documents, you'll find the agenda and the main presentation for today's meeting. There's an agenda item 10, that's the Business Assistance Program update, wrap-up. That presentation will be posted following the meeting, probably get posted tomorrow. But if you're watching, you can follow along with that presentation here. Let's go ahead with a quick round of introductions. Pete?
Pete Forces, CMA Properties.
Chip Boyles, Thomas Jefferson Planning District, and MPO.
Morgan Butler, Southern Environmental Law Center. Mark Graham, Memorial County.
Chris Engel, City of Charlottesville.
Henry Weinschenk, Car Wash Consultants.
All right, the VDOT team.
Joel Denunzia, VDOT Charlottesville.
Dave Covington, VDOT Charlottesville residency.
Debbie Messina, Phillips Chiquette Company.
Linda Collett, VDOT IT support.
Al Jones, VDOT Charlottesville residency. Lou Hatter, VDOT Communications.
All righty, I think we are ready to go. Our last meeting had, remember we said that these numbers look a little unusually large for the last two meetings. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But the numbers from the last meeting looked a little bit more like we've been seeing. 18 viewers, 36 different streams, average minute per stream, 23 minutes. So that's kind of back in the pocket we've been in. 9 emails and phone calls over the last couple of weeks. One asked about whether or not there was an incentive for the Route 29 widening project, and asked about the completion date. As you know, there is an incentive for the on-time completion of all 3 design-build projects. That's on top of what was available for the reopening of the RIO GSI. That work is currently ahead of schedule, and you'll see when we talk about the major milestones, we've said that Lane Corman was rebaselining their schedule. They now officially moved them up to June 30th, so that's a good thing. One commented about, another comment that we've seen about weaving at RIO GSI, and I know a couple of those comments still keep coming in. So far, we just haven't seen any reason to add any signing or change any signing. It's interesting that some people comment that the signing doesn't give enough, the overhead signs don't give enough advance notice. And if you'll recall, we moved those things back about 850 to 900 feet from where they would have been. So it's something we're just going to have to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, do we know which quadrant that weaving they complain about is?
I don't.
Well, I've heard about both directions.
Both directions. I just.
Because I'm still a little concerned about in front of Alvar Square, where we have the continuous right turn. And you need to get, you know, closer to the center of the road if you want to continue up north. And other people may be making a U-turn trying to get into the shopping center.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Although it's true that some people are crazy. Because I was going southbound.
Well, that's true. Some people are.
I was going southbound, trying to, make a left turn on Rio Road, and just as where the lanes separate, you have the hash marked area. A car that was to the right of me decided they wanted to go into the underpass, so it's right in front of me.
Yeah.
That turn. So that's a crazy part.
Yeah.
We have no control over crazies, I guess.
Lou, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say, these comments are about people approaching the intersection on 29 and choosing the through lanes versus the local lanes.
Okay. Well, that was the last case I'm commenting.
Yeah.
The crazy guy.
Yeah.
He was to my right and all of a sudden decided to cross traffic and get in front of me to get into the underpass. Yeah, okay.
Well, except we'd say no additional signs planned. Certainly keep a look out there, but signing right now would not seem to be changing the signs would not seem to be a thing to do. I rolled all these comments up into one. 4 people had different comments about Route 29, widening project, Route 29, and Ashwood Boulevard. And Lou responded to each one with some specific things that were going to be done. The long and short of it is that all those different items that Lou reported back to those individuals are in place. And Dave, when you get to Route 29 widening, or why don't you just review those now?
Yeah, I think we talked about before the phase 4 traffic shift, when everybody was in the northbound lanes, their pre-existing location, and we were moving them over where the southbound lanes were in the middle of the road. There was a whole lot of work that had to occur overnight, and they got the vast majority of it done. They didn't get as much done at the Ashwood intersection as they would have hoped. So the next evening, they were supposed to come in and restripe and also do a little bit of asphalt buildup to give some more room for vehicles to turn into Ashwood Boulevard. It rained the next evening, so it put it off a couple days. But once they finally did get in and put in that asphalt wedging and the striping, it's a much better situation. So what was happening is primarily people going northbound trying to make a right into Ashwood Boulevard. And generally, they're going pretty fast. They were kind of swinging out and having to swing back, so more than a 90-degree turn to get into the intersection. And some of them would come around the turn and get a little confused about which side they went in. So that's all been corrected now. And I don't believe we've heard any complaints, and Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, since it was done. Seems to be working much better now.
Actually got a compliment from one of the people who called to register a concern. She wanted to compliment the work that had been done, said everything that was done out there, the improvements that you mentioned had helped a lot.
So we wouldn't expect to see any between now and the next meeting then? Right. We might, we'll just keep
But
an eye.
I have not seen
Okay.
it since.
All right.
And in addition to that, that morning when we started getting some complaints, and we went out and looked at it and said, yeah, this probably doesn't look the way we intended it to. We went ahead and put some barrels out, some signs to help people figure it out a little bit.
Right.
So early morning, there was some issues. A few were later in the day, and then by the next day.
Okay. Because these comments came in like one right after another.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. All right. One just wrote in and said there ought to be I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit here. Said there ought to be an interstate from Lynchburg to Northern Virginia, or at least from Lynchburg to Richmond. And there you go. I'd be for building another one. One commented that construction lights were too bright at night, and Lane Corman was reminded to keep those construction lights not positioned away from oncoming traffic. One caught that the traffic cam at Route 29 was not working. That's been repaired and is back working. At Hillsdale, a person wrote in and just mentioned that they saw an elderly person walking a dog inside the orange fencing, and if you'll recall from last time, some additional warning signs were put up around the fencing. So from this particular comment, I don't know if this happened before or after those additional signs were put up. 2 people wrote into the city and said there were some speed limit signs missing, and Jeanette is either having those reinstalled or they've been reinstalled. There were, well, I said 2 new postings and then wrote 3. So there were 3 new postings on the website. They were these were from an individual that had written before about there only being 2 Route 29 lanes in each direction, and you know, the number of lanes that are there are the same number of lanes. True, they've been split out, and that was explained a little more thoroughly in a response. One person who's written in before just kind of re-registered their opposition to the GSI, and actually this same person asked about why haven't we heard anything about the hydraulic study yet? But as you know, that money was put in fiscal year 18. As a result of the MPO's actions, some of that money has been moved up for a new study, and we should hear a little bit more about that next month from the secretary. But no money has been spent, so that's why there's no results of a hydraulic study yet. No phone calls into the project hotline, so Chris your phone was quiet, I guess, Chris. The last meeting, the bids came in for the landscaping at the Best Buy ramp. The estimate, I think early on we talked about $50,000, and then we thought the estimate was around $75,000. The first round of bids, nobody bid. There were 2 bids. The low bid was $129,000, and even though it's more than what was anticipated, that bid's been accepted, and we've missed this planting season, so that planting will get done in the spring. And I'm not going to remember it all, but if you remember a meeting or 2 meetings ago, we had some layouts of where that planting was going to occur and what type of planting would be going in there. Kristen had asked about what types of trees are being planted in the median around the Rio GSI, and just go to the next slide for a minute. And there's swamp white oak and Chinese elms, and I don't remember how many of each, and can't say I'm an expert on either one, but those are the trees that are going in. We talked last time about looking at a little longer term of accident data for that period right after the opening of the GSI through the end of August. And Joel has got that data, and he'll review that with us as agenda item 8. This we really don't need to wait till agenda item 8. Comment was made last time that Woodbrook was now the most congested intersection in the corridor, and somebody in the room was a little skeptical of that comment, and it's not. It's hydraulic. So within our project area that we're dealing with, hydraulic remains the most congested intersection. Well, if anybody wants to look at trees again, we can, but they
Those are the same species that were there before, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, what they were instructed to do is replace the trees that were removed
Right.
with the same species.
That's what I understood.
I just don't remember the number of each one or how many are being planted. Okay, any thoughts or discussion for the next meeting? Steve? Our next meeting won't be till January 19th.
Got one, actually, folks in our office asked about. I was going to try to drive out there to see, but I don't go that way as much anymore. They had a concern heading northbound under Rio, in the through lanes, I guess, where the curbing starts as you're coming out of the underpass. and the curbing, I think, starts to move over to create the median, that at dark nights or rainy nights, it's a little bit difficult to see, and they were noting that they did, as well as seeing others, some drivers making a jerk, not seeing the curbing to the left in time. I haven't driven.
So this is northbound, exiting the underpass, coming out of the underpass.
Being in the left-hand lane, where the curbing would start, just if it's really dark, not seeing it in time to move safely over.
Yeah, we'll look at that. I mean, what I would look at would be the line painting there, and make sure that's done right around stripe. Because that's retro reflective.
And there should be a stripe on the left hand. Yeah, I mean there is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but if somehow it, asphalt got on it, or a truck went over there and somehow started pulling it up, I would look at that.
My non-engineering answer was we should know in enough time if the curbing turns black from wheel marks. Then we know it's a problem.
Well,
fortunately, but I know.
Yeah.
Not a good answer.
If there's an issue there, we ought to get it now. Okay. Anything else, Chip?
No.
Mark? Chris? Henry?
Yeah, since I wasn't here last week, I did read the minutes. And I noticed that there was some sort of an answer to something I had brought up before about the coloring of the simulated rocks in the retaining walls. And I read the answer and it got me a little bit confused because it did say that the color they used was a blend of the colors of the other place. If that's the case, that explains why I cannot see the colors, because they blended them all together so that they essentially only used two colors rather than...
No, they used 5 colors.
They used
five colors. There's a, we can point it out to you, the chart is in the presentation from the last meeting.
Okay.
There's a chart of the colors and how their distribution of application over the walls.
The minutes then probably didn't reflect what actually was discussed then.
Okay.
And I got to, I guess, take a second good look at that.
Yeah.
Confirm that that's really the case. I mean, it didn't seem to me like in the past that was just casual.
Yeah, it's the same 5, was it 5 or 6?
It's 5 colors plus the base.
Plus the base coat, yeah. Plus the base coat and then 5
6
colors. Yes, yeah.
Which is definitely the case at 250
Yeah.
bypass.
Yeah.
But here it seemed like I only was seeing 2 colors, but I'll take a look.
Okay.
And either confirm or deny.
Okay, okay. And I can show you that chart.
Pardon?
I can show you that chart too from the presentation. I don't remember.
Well, that's just
exactly.
a chart.
Yeah, that's just a chart.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
just want to see the actual.
Yeah,
application.
okay.
I should be able to pick that up. I don't know why.
As you all know, I'm bad for.
Has the feedback on those colors been positive? I mean, I'm sorry, I've been away from them.
Other than a little talk here, I haven't heard.
No,
I haven't had any feedback.
Okay. Because I mean, I assume that's the same color pattern that's going to go on the walls on 250.
Yes.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
those are much more substantial walls. And so if there were considerable discussion and or objection, it wouldn't be. I don't know. I mean, I'm just
Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of it. We've had some discussion in here about, well, gee, it doesn't look maybe exactly like McIntyre, and let's make sure that there was more than 2 colors, and
just making a point.
Yeah.
It would be very, very
Yeah.
obvious with those big, big, tall walls.
right,
Well, I have to say, on 250, they look very, very good, because when I first heard about it, I said, oh, that's going to look a little bit chintzy or something, but
You mean
it
on
looks
Drive?
very real
On 29?
on 250. On 29, I had,
They haven't been done.
I think he's talking about McIntyre.
what do you mean they haven't been done?
Okay, on Mac.
Yeah,
On McIntyre, that had been done one time ago.
Right, on 250-29, the new.
Right.
On the GSI, I was under the impression it hadn't been done. You seem to be saying that too? No.
No, they have been done.
Yeah.
It just, I don't think it doesn't look the same to me as the McIntyre interchange.
Well,
However,
that makes two or three of us.
okay.
Okay.
I haven't been here to discuss, so I apologize, but if there were an opportunity to discuss it and change it, now would be.
Yeah, well,
For two.
what's regardless of how it may or may not look in its current state of application,
It's the
the
same.
mix is the same.
It's
Is
supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that,
Uproar, then no worries.
no. And I frankly, Henry, don't know that you would ever get the same, exactly the same result, even from the same application of an exterior treatment like that on material that's not going to be exactly the same.
it's paint. I mean, paint can't be the same. I mean,
I think it's a little more
it's
nuanced
paint, and according
than
to
that.
what you say, it follows a pattern that actually has been established, and there's a standard for it, so to speak. So it should be the same. But it's three of us who are under the impression it's not. But as I say, I'll withdraw any comments I made until I take.
No, that's fine.
Good
That's
look
fine.
at it,
That's
and
fine.
then I will tell you.
But Pete's point is well made, and to my knowledge, we just,
So it's not an issue.
Well, it may be an issue with me.
it's,
Later on, okay.
it's not a universal issue at this point.
Well, I'm sorry.
No,
Maybe I'm a little bit of a.
no, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay, let's move
All
on.
right. We mentioned that we were going to now move this percent complete out to October. If you'll recall, it had stopped at December of this year, I think, or it might have gone through June. Anyway, it's now moved out, and on the Rio is dropped off. On 29 widening, the work continues on the water lines, the phase 4, 6, and 7 grading, drainage, and paving. And as you see, we're now showing at the contractors with the contractor's knowledge a completion date in before July and not out to October. So that's, since they have made that official rebaseline, that's what we'll be looking for them to do. So that includes 29 widening as well as Berkmar. And that is great news. I mean, that is just, I'm usually not too many loss for words, but we'll see what happens come June. But that's good news. Berkmar work continues on the roadway construction north and south of the river. The deck is now 100% complete, and we talked a couple of weeks ago about how that was progressing. So that deck is down. We'll see a few close-up pictures of that. Dave can tell us more about it. On Hillsdale, we've also got some new milestones out on Hillsdale. We mentioned the building demolition is complete. Started some work on the grading and drainage work, both north of Greenbrier and between Greenbrier and Seminole Court. The retaining wall at Pepsi is 35%, and work has started in the area of the roundabout. Jeanette will tell us a little. Well, I saw Jeanette come in. Yes, we'll talk a little bit more about Hillsdale when we get to our project updates. So we'll base our percent completes off of this now, which should be the last one we'll need to look at. So thanks for getting that pulled together, and tell Andrew thanks. Any questions on milestones? Dave, why don't you run through the projects?
Okay, good afternoon. I'll go through these pretty quickly. I know everybody wants to hear from SR about the business assistance wrap-up, so I don't want to spend too much time on these, but obviously we're going to skip Rio. No work left there, so that's all complete. Route 29 lighting this week, they continue to work on erosion control. One last push to make sure everything's wrapped up for the winter time. We don't have any issues over the winter time. Still working on excavation and embankment on the east side of 29. Most notable area right now is they're excavating for Pond 3 and hauling that material directly down alignment so it doesn't have to come out on the road to build that embankment, which is was a very smart thing to do. Keeps those trucks off the road, keeps dirt off the road. Ditch excavation and curb backfill throughout the project, finalizing slopes, touching them up, reseeding if they need it. Outlet riprap installation, so when they installed a lot of these culverts, couldn't really access the steep slopes on the east side of the road, so now they're going in and putting in all that riprap and creating the low flow channels and everything that DEQ likes to see at the outlets of these pipes. Silt fence installation, like I said, kind of falls under erosion control, temporary seeding. Phase 4 water main relocation, we have 1.8 miles of water main to relocate for this project, so we are into this heavy now. There was a little bit of work done earlier in the project on the crossings, crossing over where the southbound lanes are now. So now they're doing the vast majority of this work, running north and south, 2 crews. So we expect that'll be wrapping up in February or early March. I do have some various culvert and storm sewers that are kind of being installed throughout the project. Continuing jack and bore of structures 9-2 and 11-1. North of Ashwood and south of Hollymead in those respective locations. Under drain installation and some curb and gutter that was installed earlier this week up near the Coles on southbound lanes, as well as the southern end of the project, so little pieces that hadn't been installed yet. So a couple of quick pictures, and Philip was kind enough to kind of zoom in on these for you. You get an idea here what the northbound lanes look like now. Kind of where they were previously. So this is where a lot of that embankment is being constructed, and everybody shifted over to where the southbound lanes were before. Really, traffic is very close to its final location with some adjustments on the 2 ends of the project. So we can already see the 3rd lane here, southbound. That hasn't been opened up yet because they use this to work from quite a bit in this median area. And then when we construct the additional 3rd lane northbound, as well as the shared use path beyond that.
So the shared use path is at the top right of that?
Yeah, so you can see kind of where the northbound lanes were before. The shared use path is generally where that rightmost northbound lane used to be. So we're not really pushing east with the roadway or the shared use path. We're kind of moving everything a little bit to the west.
And we'll have some small plantings between the edge of the roadway and the shared use path.
Yes. We discussed that ad nauseum a year ago in terms of that buffer.
Yeah.
I don't recall exactly. I mean, I don't think there was a real steady answer because they didn't have the right way to go wider. We couldn't put trees.
Yeah, we're putting trees there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Not
some of the
large
feedback
trees.
I've gotten from neighbors in the Rio 29 area has been the pedestrian, just the fear for walking on 29, being so close to what essentially is a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. Same up there, and really going to be faster. Continue to watch it develop, but this is more of a green opportunity to make it a little bit better buffer.
Yeah, we've got 10 feet between the roadway and the shared use path.
And there was discussion of whether we could put the caliper of the tree and that sort of thing because of
smaller caliper trees is what we're.
But we did settle on that and did push that into the contract. Okay. So they will be.
Something tells me.
So there'll be a little bit more of a sense of separation.
Yes.
Yes.
Something tells me Swamp White Oak and Chinese Elm will probably find their way.
Whatever they might be, but yes, we did talk. That wasn't part of the contract. We did talk about that here, and that's been put into the contract.
Okay. Sorry.
What we did is, the working relationship we have with Lane Corman is really, really good. So we had some comments before about Berkmar, and there's this overabundance of trees on Berkmar, so we said, hey, just take some of that, not the specific tree, but some of the money associated with that, and just move it over to that area on 29 widening between the roadway and shared use path. We've taken advantage of every opportunity we can. There's some areas because of site distance we just have to stay away from, but we went through and looked at each area we could possibly put them. So you will be seeing that. In fact, if the weather were better right now, the landscapers will probably be working on the west side of 29. So I think in the spring, they'll come in and they'll start knocking out these slopes, putting the trees on there, and then in a little bit later in the spring, early summer, come over here and do this side, the northbound side. Okay. Next slide, Linda. So lane closures, they have been doing a little bit of work at night. They're wrapping that up. I believe they've probably already finished this week. They might do 1 or 2 nights next week. Kind of doubt it. And then we're kind of done with night work for a while. So we don't anticipate any lane closures on 29 widening. Certainly not through the holidays. Probably be into February before we see any night work. And the only reason for that is water line crossing Ashwood Boulevard. Obviously that has to be done at night, as well as North Hollywood. So over the next couple of weeks, next week's going to be slow. The following week will be even slower due to the holidays, but they will be continuing to work on erosion control. Pond 3 excavation is moving very quickly, so they'll get the majority of that excavation done going into the holidays. Various ditch excavation, small amounts of curb backfill, things that smaller crews can do because people are taking vacation. Installing fill material Pond 5 to help start the process on that pond. Continuing to install the riprap at 1220, which is one of the large jack and bores. Storm drain and culvert installations pretty much between Polo Grounds and Ashwood on that southern part of the project. Continuing the water main relocation. They will be working hard on this. It's a subcontractor. AA Group will be working throughout the winter on that, and continuing the jack and bore of 9.2 and 11.1.
How close is that to wrapping up?
The jack and bores? Good question. 11.1 is getting very, very close.
And where is that one?
11.1 is up near, is south of North Hollymead, and then 9.2, which is just south of Asheville Boulevard. It's a very challenging jack and bore. It's at a skew. It's very long, and they have to actually go to a structure. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be another month on that structure.
But with the difficulties that they've had with the jack and bore, they still feel comfortable moving the completion date up to, okay.
That does not control any other one.
Yeah, all right.
So, yeah, I mean, by the schedule, it looked like they were running late, but quite honestly, it was because they were optimistic that they wouldn't hit rock. They hit a lot of rock, and the other ones slowed them down, so now they're catching up.
Right.
And then with regard to lane closures, over the next 2 weeks after this week, there's not going to be lane closures. Any questions on 29? Okay, Berkmar. This week, erosion control maintenance. We were going into the winter again with 2.2 miles of roadway. Fortunately, on the majority of it, we've got stone on it. On the bridge, we've got concrete on the deck, so most everything's protected, but they're making sure that the slopes are protected. We won't have any sediment loss over the winter time with heavy storms. Fine grading and backfilling curb. There's been a lot of curb placed out there. I think we looked at some pictures last time, but well over half of the project has curb and gutter now. Button B, the one on the north side of the river, installing drainage. Remember last meeting we talked about Ryder Mills Road being closed during the day for 3 days this week. This is the second day of that, so they'll also have it closed tomorrow to get all the drainage across, and actually a level spreader installed on the other side. Stripping the deck in the keyway. The deck right now is covered, so the concrete is continuing to cure. That's finishing up. I believe tomorrow they will start stripping the covers off the deck. They've already got it off a lot of the deck with the last 2 pours. They'll go ahead and pull that off because it's been a week. The keyway is where the barrier wall between the vehicle lanes and the shared use path will be constructed. So that's when we talk about stripping off the keyway, that's what we're talking about there. MSC coping and backfill at the abutments. Those MSC walls are almost done, but once they get it up to the final grade, they'll put the coping on the top. Break down the bidwell, which is the concrete paving machine, as well as the work bridges. That's already done. They've gotten that out of there. Various culvert installations throughout the project. And we do have a few pictures. A lot of this focus, actually I think all the pictures are about the bridge deck. This gives you a little bit of a close-up on what the pour looks like. So this hose right here is coming from the pump truck that's actually down below the bridge, and they pump the concrete up, put it in place. All these guys, basically they push it into place, the asphalt, or the concrete paver comes through, it agitates it and it smooths it. So that's what a concrete deck pour operation looks like. These guys have the pleasure of standing in 6 to 8 inches of concrete all day and getting it all over them, and then that's why they wear basically a Tyvek suit.
I still, I like these pictures because as much as we've advanced technologically, back when I started 40-some years ago, the highway department, we've been the same picture.
The Egyptians were almost doing the same thing.
It would have been the same.
That was.
It would have been the same picture, so.
But you can see they're also vibrating. There's a lot of different activities,
Yeah.
but it's a pretty quick process.
Yeah.
I mean, our biggest pour, I think, was about 350 cubic yards, and that took all day. This one during this picture was about 80 yards. That was pretty quick. It was a couple of hours. So they hustle. They get set up, they get ready, and they hustle through it. So this shows you that when we've got this mass operation going in the middle with equipment, with a concrete paver, there are still these guys on the side. This is the steel for the parapet wall. This all has to be worked in by hand. So that's what he's doing. He's coming along. He's actually between the paver and the work bridge. You can see a little bit of the work bridge behind him, coming in and making sure that all those areas are covered. So, and I know, Philip, you like this.
I do.
Lane and Corman both have a good safety culture, and this is part of their training process, so everybody knows
Like that.
they've been through that safety training. You have to know who you can rely on out there. And I think we have one more picture of Berkmar. Yeah. So this is the part of the deck. This was the first pour here. It was already cured. It was stripped. There's curing compound on it. A couple of days when we were out there watching it, we would walk right up to it. And I mean, this is what the deck looks like. The parapets, they're being formed. That's the next section to do. This little darker area right there, that's actually the keyway that will be stripped out to build the barrier wall between the vehicle lanes and the shared use path. So we're done with the bridge deck pours, now it's on the barriers and parapets.
And is it, we initially had 2 sidewalks here, right?
We have a sidewalk on one side and a shared use path on the other.
On the other, that's right.
So sidewalk here, shared use
Yeah,
path.
yeah.
So with regard to lane closures, this is the Rio Mills Road closure that I was discussing earlier. That work is going well. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule, but they will need tomorrow to complete that work. Aside from that, no road closures. And over the next 2 weeks, erosion control maintenance, fine grading, backfilling curb, push and fill at the abutments. This is finally getting that fill material so that they can actually close that gap, vertical gap between the bridge and the alignment. Installing the 2 joints on the bridge. Those are the ones that kind of go together like this on the ends of just about every bridge. That's what they're working on next week. Finishing the MSC walls, the coping, the backfill, asphalt paving. We were really hoping to get the entire alignment under asphalt before the winter. This cold weather's not helping us. If we get some nice warm weather over the next couple of weeks, we may not get all of the asphalt down, but maybe a good percentage of it. So keep our fingers crossed on that. Culvert and storm drain installations continue, and tying the steel for the return for the approach terminal. That's just for the terminal wall for the bridge where it runs off the bridge, so they have to tie all that together as well. That has not been poured yet. And no road closures, possibly every now and then a flagging operation, but now that the concrete work is done, with the exception of the parapet walls and the barrier walls, we shouldn't have a lot of concrete trucks coming in and out. Any questions on Berkmar?
Is there anything on either end of the Berkmar Drive project that, I'm sure VDOT and the county have communicated about this, but we're going to be changing that traffic pattern substantially with the volume that's going to come out on the existing Berkmar Drive and up at Town Center. Are there any improvements that are planned, traffic signal or otherwise, that I'm thinking in our neighborhood of the Rio Road light signal? And there's been a lot of work happening there. I don't know if any of that is anticipation of this, but I imagine the timing on that is going to be a substantial change necessary if the volume coming through increases a lot.
Yeah, if the volume coming through.
Yeah, and does anybody anticipate any other challenges that might be outside the purview of this project itself, that unintended opportunities? Let me say.
Aside from, I think we're committed to paving Berkmar. So
we had planned on that. I think Joel got that done.
The two termini of the Berkmar Extended Project are roundabouts. So traffic signal-wise, at that location, no. There's no signal north of that, although we'll have to keep an eye on Town Center, obviously. I believe there was a House Bill 2 application submitted for connecting Berkmar all the way up to Airport Drive. Obviously, I don't know the status of that. And then, obviously, monitoring the signals. We do have remote technology in place at Berkmar and Rio now, so we can make changes much more quickly if we do need them.
And didn't you upgrade the signal at Berkmar and Rio?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the signals on hydraulic and Rio in that area were upgraded with technology.
Yeah, and you know, Woodbrook is a challenging area right now. There's a lot of people trying to get in there, especially at lunchtime, and that signal on Woodbrook, if we see a travel pattern change, more vehicles going over to Berkmar, it might cause us to take another look at that connection on Woodbrook between Berkmar and 29.
By just Pete's point, is that something the residency would?
Yeah, Northwest,
Would be
our
doing
traffic
like-
operations folks are going to have to,
Yeah.
as traffic patterns shift, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, make timing adjustments to the new light at Berkmar. You'll probably also see increased traffic coming out or going in at Hilton Heights Road and Woodbrook Road that we'll have to adjust for. As that parallel facility, starts, people get used to using it.
We don't have a predetermined plan as to what we're going to do.
So it's read and react.
Well, a little bit, yeah, with regard to signals.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it's a very quick process with the remote access now to those signals that we didn't have before.
Okay.
Any other questions on Berkmar?
What does the rebaselining do with respect to earning the incentive?
Well, July 1st is the maximum incentive date of $1.3 million for early completion of Route 29 widening and Berkmar. So obviously they backed up a few days. I believe one of the projects has now a completion date June 27th and the other June 30th. So they're going after that $1.3 million. I don't blame them for doing that.
Yeah.
And based on what we've seen so far with the progress of these projects, I don't see any reason why they won't be able to hit those dates. So,
But the firm fixed completion date remains
October
October
30th, 2017.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So if for some reason they don't hit that, if they're August, it declines by a daily value.
Yeah.
Very similar to Rio, but the difference is this is a one linear
Yeah.
decline.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at October 30th, it's $0.
Right. Right. Okay.
All right, and Hillsdale's next, I think.
Hillsdale is next.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're continuing to work on the retaining wall, getting the excavation and undercut between Pepsi and the post office complete. We are looking to install the retaining wall leveling pad actually next week. We've had to rejigger some of the activities with the weather and with subs scheduling. So when we do the leveling pad, we're also going to be working on backfilling because the wall units need to be backfilled. It's part of the retaining wall system, backfill. We have completed abutment A of forming, tying the steel, and placing concrete. We've completed abutment B, and we have the forms still up while the concrete's curing for abutment B and for the wing walls for this week, so we just finished that. We are continuing to rough, refine, grade, and install the under drain for the Homewood Suite section, and we're also getting ready to start placing curb on that section. And we placed just yesterday structure 4-2, which is the new structure for the new stormwater basin north of Greenbrier. There's been no significant lane closures for this week. We're not expecting it for next week either. The work for next week, though, we are going to start working on that retaining wall, leveling pad, placing fill along the retaining wall, placing the actual units in combination with those activities. We already started the undercut and fill at the north end of the project. That's by the stormwater basin. So we're trying to get that area ready so that we can start building up the new section for the new roadway north of Greenbrier to Hillsdale. And again, the retaining wall excavation undercut between Pepsi and the post office is just an ongoing operation. So what we're looking at here is the completed northern abutment, or abutment A, and this is abutment B where it's placed. And then the next picture is, this is the commercial building that we went and demolished 3 store bays, 2 stores actually. So we're building it back up. You see insulation on one side of it. You see the finishing block on the other side, probably a little bit better. And that's where the roadway is going to go with the shared use path and the sidewalk. So that's where we're currently at. Is there any questions for Hillsdale? No? Excellent. Thank you.
Budget update. A little more money spent on the design build projects. Brought the invoicing up $4.5 million from last time, so commensurate reduction in remaining contract value. Still closing out the Best Buy ramp, and that's why this number looks a little funny, but that will all get settled out as that project closes out. No expenditures on adaptive signals. Spent some more money at Hillsdale. This contract value is just for the roadway part of the project. It doesn't not include a betterment to a water line?
Albemarle County Service Authority sanitary sewer line that's within Greenbrier.
The city's paying the contractor for a betterment that's out in their contract, but outside of this project. So another invoice came through there. The long and short of it is we spent about $5.5 million and brought our remaining contract value down. The balances are really looking good so far against what was budgeted in the 6-year plan, and I think that in January on the design build projects we may be able to put a little sharper edge on how we think those are going to end up in terms of budget, and I think that's going to be a good picture. So since we're going to monthly meetings, we'll obviously update the budget at each monthly meeting. Any questions on the budget? Okay. Joel, at the last meeting we looked at July 19 to August 31 for 2015 and 2016, and I think Kristen was the first to bring up that, gee, let's go back a few years, and we decided to go back and capture 5 years of data just for that isolated period.
Yeah, so these are the total crashes in this column right here, those isolated periods since 2012. So we really have a very small amount of data that we can review right now. The first three all occurred prior to any sort of construction. Construction started April of 15. So the last 2 points are during or just after construction, obviously. So the average for the first 3 years is a little over 10, if you put all that data together. So you can see the first year we're a little bit under, and first period a little bit under at 6, 13 and 12 are a little bit over. All averages out to about 10. The next slides are basically the same time periods, the approximately 6 weeks, I guess. This is 2012, where we had 6 crashes, actually a low amount of crashes, and you can see
And
green
these
is
are
rear
between
ends.
1-2 points again?
It's the construction limits, 29th
But-
place up to Woodbrook. The green dots are rear end crashes, the red dots are side swipes, and the blue dots are angle collisions. So this is a little bit less than the average. If you go to the next slide, you got 2013, you have a little bit above the average. You see a good amount of rear end crashes in there. If you go to 2014, you're a little bit above. So you don't really see any patterns at this point because the data ranges are so small. What I expect as we have September and so on data for the post-construction period, you'll start to see some more patterns, and the averages kind of work out. So the next 2 slides are during construction here, 2015, and obviously we'll see that same pattern. And 2016 is what I'm really interested in here, is to see what develops as the data becomes available, to see if we have any patterns. The one
But
thing we
Linda,
did-
go back to just for a minute. So this is the end of summer period before construction.
Correct. Construction started April of 2015 with utilities.
Right, right.
So this is the last time period we have shown here before any construction occurred.
Then the next one would have been
During our construction, mostly nighttime operations, I guess, at that point.
yeah. Okay. And then that's
And then this is
immediately-
post-construction. So obviously, all these time periods are based
Okay.
on what we have available post-construction. So as we get more data, we'll go ahead and increase all those time periods, and you'll start to see them average out a little bit. What we talked about last time, you see a few more red dots than green dots here. It's actually encouraging, and hopefully we'll see some patterns develop where we see a safer intersection overall, but it's way too early to really make any conclusions.
Yeah, I do think, as we've said a couple other times, we've got some data and we can look at it. I'm not sure what conclusions we draw from it. But, I mean, we're responding to what we were asked to provide, which was 5 years of data for a very narrow window.
45 days.
Is that how we should be looking at it?
No, what we're
Or
going to do is that 8/31/2016, when I get the September data available, I'll take all those data points and make them all through the end of September, and so on. I'll keep expanding the data.
But we're going to start it July 19th?
I figure
Is that
what's
the thing
important
that-
is we know when the intersection opens. We
Okay.
always want that point,
Okay.
and we'll expand on, so it's
Okay.
it's at least.
So you'll go
relevant
back to
each
5
other.
years and keep adding on that
Keep adding
30
on,
days?
yeah, keep adding on.
All right. That sound reasonable?
Phil, the red dots were rear enders,
Side swipes.
side swipes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, a while ago, I was talking to you about exactly that area.
Yeah, and those 2 that you see there, I got the reports on those. One is someone was pulling into side street at Albemarle Square, and someone else hit him on the back corner panel, and that was a hit and run, so we don't have a lot of data on that. And then the other one was 2 vehicles that were going through the light that collided. So we're keeping an eye on that, though. That's what I was telling you earlier. When I see these happening in this area, actually in any areas where we have merging or diverging traffic, we're going to take a look specifically at those reports, and if we see anything happen like that, we'll go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, well, we need more data points.
We need
From the
more- we need
reports,
more.
you want to
Yeah.
see They were making U-turn or,
Yeah, we haven't had any U-turn angle collisions yet that I know of that's available through August. Obviously, we have a lot of months that happen. I've seen some crashes out there that obviously I don't have reports on yet.
But this is all of those data points are drawn from the TREAD system, so they're
Correct.
all from a consistent
All from the same source.
source. Okay.
Any questions?
Joel, thank you. Lou reminded me it was probably good getting to the end of the year to give another update on the disposition of the right-of-way bypass. Remember, we had 90 parcels. Last time we updated you was September the 8th. Another 16 parcels slid into the sold column. None are current. We had 12 under contract last time. There are none under contract now. Still those kind of lingering condemnation issues out. And I think those are those all being handled through the AG's office, or that's probably not going to change for a while, will be my bet. We had 9 up for sale through public ad or adjacent landowners back in September. There's 5 still out there. This one obviously is not going to change. 5 retained by VDOT, and 2 of those are apparently retained for some possible future widening at Berkmar. Is that right, Dave? Does that mean that the other 3 were retained for Route 29 solutions? Yes.
Well, yes, but one of them was not permanently retained. It was our office site.
Yes.
Which will be sold back.
Which will be sold back.
Complete the project.
Yes. And then there's 1 still in, that'll probably also hang there for a while. So I think if you kind of look at the big picture here, there's 5 actively out for sale right now. 69 have been sold, so moving pretty good through that 90 parcels. And you can go ahead and flip to the map. For some of you, the map may be easier to follow than others, but we are keeping that up to date as well. And if anybody ever wanted to look at a larger view of that, you're welcome to do it. And that brings us to JR. Chip, why don't you kind of introduce what JR is going to go over, and JR, come on up and tell them who JR is.
Quick reminder that early on in the project, the county and MPO began working on looking at any type of business assistance. We had a subcommittee of folks from the county, the city, and the MPO that began looking at actually 2 different kind of phases of marketing. One that the county would be doing individually with businesses, and then the bigger part of that was a collective marketing campaign. And we were able to utilize the existing contract that VDOT had with SIR, marketing consulting firm, and they had already begun some working under the Route 29 Solutions contract. We were able to add to it with funds contributed by VDOT and matching 2-to-1 with funds contributed by the county. And so we've been spending this time working on the collective marketing campaign with SIR. Lou has been an incredible resource with that. And of course, Lee Kaplan from the county was the leader of the county's program. For us, we think has been very, very successful. The numbers will kind of show for themselves in a little bit, and hopefully it won't be all new. We've tried to keep you updated periodically as the process has gone. So, Mr. J.R. Hempel from SIR.
Thanks, Chip, for the introduction. Thanks for the invitation to go up to the meeting. You know, I think in life and in business, we sometimes just move on after we've completed a project, and we don't think back. So it's been a couple of months since we completed, and we did a summary then, but I was glad to go back and kind of revisit it again and kind of look at what we did. And SIR is a market research and communications and public affairs firm. We do a lot of work with VDOT. We do a lot of work with transit. It's about half of our business. And we've known Philip for quite some time, and Lou. And so I will tell you, from my perspective and the work that I've been involved in, it was really the most meaningful transit project we've been involved with. And I think for a couple of reasons. One was that we had just the most collaborative group with Chip and Lou and Philip over kind of encouraging us, and Lee. And it was kind of a model for us in terms of how to get work done. And the other piece of it was the impact. And I think you'll see that I don't think that there's rarely a highway construction project that doesn't have some public interest and potential conflict in it. And this one, the environment was pretty hot, And so when we got started, we were preparing for that, and I think you'll see here that it really was something that we were really pleased. We're grateful that we got to be a part of it. So just quickly, we'll take a quick look and remind you of the goals and strategies. We'll take a look at what our approach was creatively, and then what are the summary of results. Is there anything, though, before I get started that kind of was on your mind before, when you knew I was coming in here, that you want to make sure that I addressed? No? We're good? Okay. Straightforward, we wanted to gather some business support. It was an important goal, and I'll never forget one of the early meetings that we went to as construction was about to really take off. It was at the Pontiac dealer, the chamber event, and Lou was there, and Chip was there, and Lee, and the president of the chamber, who really turned into be a good guy, was not very pleased with the project, and he let everyone there know as we were standing there with all of our materials to hand out. But the second piece, and to drive that business support, was to make sure that we made sure that citizens and consumers knew what was happening. And to support, and that's the third goal, really kind of a funny goal, but really the way to make all that happen was to make sure that people understood that it was worth the drive. And this was really the symbol that we used throughout. An interesting approach here, we did not have government or agency or authorities attached to this as we were doing it. And we talked about it a lot in the meetings.
Because we wanted it to get done.
There was an effort. Don't forget that early on, this was going to be folded into the Board of Supervisors' purview. And
yes.
The county did want their hands on it. And this committee and others said, no, we want it to get done.
Yeah.
And frankly, the board has other stuff to focus on. So it was good to see this.
Well, and JR, you may not have known it, but the $200,000 that the secretary chipped in,
yes.
John Lynch, I don't know if you know John or not.
I do, yeah.
John entered into an agreement with Chip, and we basically just gave that $200,000 to your business assistant subcommittee and said, you don't have to ask anybody for anything in terms of spending it. You make your decisions and go with it.
It was a wise decision, and it made it very consumer-friendly, very business-friendly. And I think that those that needed to know knew that you all were sponsoring it. I think that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So it was really a comprehensive approach, and it really, from a website to the map/posters, decals and stickers, public relations and media relations. Was Lou as collaborative and as friendly when he was a reporter as he is now?
I think he's a pretty big pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, most are. No, was just.
I think Lou's always been the polite Lou that you know.
Yeah, and he had such great insight, and he really has good relations with the media. As does Chip and Lee. And the county. So I mentioned events, TV, radio, digital. We did a lot with social, and you'll see how effective that was. Newspaper, we had a digital toolkit. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the door hangers. We put 20,000 door hangers out. And so a media plan, I won't get into too much detail. I think this is you all have a copy of this. You'll have a copy of this. So, but we covered it from soup to nuts from the beginning of the campaign until the very end. So our approach was, and kind of a construction mitigation campaign is the implied message is slow down, be careful, and maybe go another route. Think about other routes that you can take. Be prepared. And while and the Solutions 29 campaign had been going on with some of those messages about orange cones, really. This was it was really about public access and involvement. So we said we had to send the be safe messages out there, but we also were sending the messages, the road isn't closed, So we wanted, the worth the drive is come. And so it's a little bit different than when you're saying, we've got heavy construction, stay away, to we've got heavy construction, beware, but come. And then just the overall climate was opposition to building some understanding, maybe not completely initially trying to get people to nod their head, oh yeah, this is a great project, because for a long time there were still people saying, wish we weren't doing it this way. but getting understanding about the campaign, and that the county and the TJPDC and VDOT were really, supporting business and gaining acceptance. And then eventually we got support. We got really positive support from some of the people who really were kind of slinging arrows at you. And you took a few of those hits, I think, Philip, when you were leading these town hall sessions. So we had to make appeals to business, kind of a business-to-business campaign-like in terms of supporting them and what we had to do to communicate to them. And then business-to-consumer from the campaign, as if you will, as a business and the local companies. And then we really personalized it. And I think you all you've seen the TV and the radio and all the print. You didn't see any pictures of orange cones or asphalt trucks or concrete being laid. I was reminded that concrete, I spent a summer laying concrete with my cousin's business once. It was the hardest I worked in my life. It was a good motivator to go to college, let me tell you. That is backbreaking. And so the TV and radio.
They went to college so you could keep doing it.
Yeah, but you're not out there in those boots. Anyway, it was good. Taught me some good lessons. We featured 8 businesses, and we picked 2 businesses in each of the 4 quadrants to try to have some parity in that and treat people. And we really used these businesses to humanize the project and to really say that you are supporting the frame shop, and you're supporting the ice cream company, you're supporting the car dealer. And so it was really meant to be, I have to tell you, if ever a government-sponsored project had a human face to it, this is the most of anyone that we've been involved with, I'll say. So I think it's a model. I don't think. It is a model that we are following with some other projects we're involved with right now. I mentioned the door hangers was the craziest thing, and it really, they got nearly 20,000 door hangers. We had the Outer Banks, the OBX stickers that we saw on people's cars, and then we created, it was really more of a landing page than an in-depth website, but it really took hold. And one of the things that popped up was download that map. And we're doing another map right now for the bus rapid transit in Richmond, which has been very controversial with local business. And we just handed out the map to business yesterday, and it was like, people thought it was the greatest thing. It's like old school stuff.
So was this the get around map?
Yeah, the get around map.
Yeah.
And we had 500 of them downloaded, and almost 400 of them downloaded in the first 30 days of the campaign. So it just doesn't happen, I tell you. So we did a lot with digital, and we use an aggregator, which is a company that really basically is buying digital ads across a lot of different websites. It's geo-targeted, so it's only at people that are going up and down the corridor or in that area, and they move those dollars to where it's getting the most traction. So if more people are going to Facebook, we use Facebook, then they divert the money into Facebook because it builds upon itself. So we also, the media, the TV, radio, newspaper, we had, as a part of our negotiations, we had ads on all of their websites. This was a piece that we're getting, another one that we're using as a model for another campaign right now, is we gave we call it a toolkit. So we gave a template, an ad template, where the businesses and there are 400 businesses, Chip, in that, something like that, 420 businesses or something. They could put their logo or their message within this. We gave it to them. And a lot of these small retailers, especially, they don't have the money to really be developing new ads to talk about construction. So. And then we had an email samples that we gave. We worked with a couple of them to help tailor some of the things, not too much, but enough. And then we also did the same with some of the partners, providing some language to use and some links around messaging about the project. And this is funny because originally the thought was at the end we were going to have a welcome back campaign, but but people never left. So we changed it to a thank you campaign. I think in the original plan, Lou and Chip, I think that's what it was, was we were going to start doing that. Now, fortunately, the construction ended early, way early.
Yeah.
And so, and we never said, we were careful to never say, Rio Road is closed. And Lou would constantly remind us of that. If ever we had a little line of copy in the new ad or something, it would say, but it was really to thank people. And what we did, we just took the templates, the artwork, if you will, that we had, we just updated a little bit, and we expressed gratitude to the community for supporting business, and we encourage people to continue visiting. And you all, I'm sure, have seen this, but we can't wait to see you. So it's a little bit of a welcome back tone to it, somewhat, but it was really that, and just the results, we really very pleased. We had more than 10 million impressions. And so that broke down about 4.5 million from the traditional media and 5.5 million in digital media. The landing page of almost 5,000 visits in a very short period of time. And for a transit project, that is a lot to happen in a short period of time. And
what would you expect if it was your average project? You have a
there are no average projects.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And I think that, and what made this so different, Philip, is that it had such a consumer feel to it. Because most of the Solutions 29, that really didn't have a call to action. We weren't asking people to go to the website and download something.
Right.
So it's really, it's kind of in a class of itself.
Okay.
I think.
But it's more than you would have expected.
Yeah. And the printed maps. We had, how many times we had to reprint the maps twice.
Right.
And to Lou's credit, he was going around with his
Lou's shoe leather
going
is a big
around
part
and
of,
knocking on doors.
A big part of this.
I remember when we had the event at the Fresh Market, and we were there with our little display, and I had a handful of people came up and said, "Where can I get some more maps?" And so, and they weren't all retailers. Some of them were distributors, and others. I want to give this to the drivers that are coming in here, So, and then we had live radio, and that was kind of a little bit of an after discussion with the live radio remotes, and we actually got people that were coming out. Whoops, I turned out. Sorry about that. I mentioned the digital, which was successful. About 50% of the landing page visits were from a handheld, and so that's saying we're reaching people when they are moving around. And there were, I guess that this is, and we're all getting used to, even we're in this every day, is the click-through rate. And so for this campaign, the campaign overall had a 0.16 click-through rate, and the average across all sectors is 0.02 to 0.05. So that, in answer to your earlier question, relative to others, it is 5 to 3 times more. It's really good. And then just related to this is, we got people that were we got positive media coverage. I mean, after it was a lot of questioning that was going on, particularly in the early days when you were talking about the project. And there was, people were going on record talking about the people are pleased with the transportation project, and what a good guy, but business as usual, and we were concerned. And early on, we some pizza shops and some others, we were concerned that their business was going to fall off, but and then the news coverage continued, and then Lou really drove that. Lou and the county really helped to drive and keep that momentum going with that, and nothing like being able to say we're going to finish early. It's the best message that you can give, and I mentioned our friends at the chamber, but even the chamber was saying positive things at the end. And actually, not just at the end, Lou, but, it was really, they got on board
They did.
in a supportive way, and they hosted those events for us.
And they were putting out our traffic alerts every week as part of their digital messaging to all their members. Every week, they had Rio and 29 as part of their messaging on all their electronic communications.
Yeah.
I think to really give the chamber a lot of credit for standing its ground on its position, but saying, oh, okay, it's going to move forward.
Yeah.
We're going to be engaged and supportive. We're not going to compromise what we thought should or shouldn't have been done, but now you're moving forward, and we want to be supportive to our businesses. And really, I give Tim and the whole membership a lot of credit for being stand up individuals.
They were really more than responsible.
Yeah,
they really were.
That's a good.
They really were, and it was their members whose business was at stake. So they fought the good fight. They didn't get what they wanted, and then they, and so and he is a good guy. He really
Tim's
is.
a good guy.
Yeah. And then a lot of social media conversations. So a lot of an engagement. That's a big part of how you measure what's the chatter that's going on. And that's a quick summary. So
I'll mention one thing early on. Being involved in these discussions and the planning. One of the things that I think made it most effective, and maybe you can speak to it as well, but from a business standpoint, was we made it simple, and we took, you mentioned the bureaucracy and the funds, and making that distribution easier, but we made it simple for the business, the small business, to administer the program and be part of it. Because if this program was unrolled with piles of paperwork to fill out and time for ownership and management to be in ownership, often is management in most of these businesses, and you would have seen participation rates drop tremendously. And what the county was able to do, and with SIR's participation was able to do, is really bring a menu of options and say, here's what we can do for you. What do you like? And then, that was pretty impressive. And I think that early on, to get that participation level up from businesses, it became contagious.
Yeah.
It really was good.
Well, you all, as the collective bodies that supported this, you had to put your ego on the side, check it at the door to do this, to brand this without getting some credit. So really, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So you guys really are the ones to get the credit for the success of this. Because I think if you would have had VDOT and county and planning district commission all over this stuff, it would have had a different tone. It would have just changed the tone, I think. So,
and part of why I think that probably worked really well, JR, is the Business Assistance Committee that was made up of a group of the businesses out there. Pete being one of them, there were about a dozen folks who attended those meetings, and they actually created the campaign with the technical assistance from the folks who do the design work and everything, but it was their ideas that went into it. Even things as seemingly simple, but really when you think about it, really important. The plus in that Rio and 29 was originally red. And one of those business owners said, wait a minute, red means stop. Shouldn't this be green?
yeah.
So it was things like that the business owners contributed as part of that group. They made it work.
Matt Thornhill, our creative director, still talks about that. Because he's the one that put the red there, yeah.
That's right.
But he got it. Yeah.
If you'll notice, he's not here giving this.
Man had a good career.
He loves you guys. Yeah, good, great.
I kind of said it while we were talking, and I know I've said it before, but just some advice you can give your clients as you're using some of this as examples is, and I mean it in all sincerity, the personal commitment from Lee and Lou, the upfront work they did, the people that Lou walked into to see who didn't want to see Lou, or hear about this project, but he kept going back and going back. The same with Lee. I think that putting a personal face on it was the first step to taking the bureaucratic face off of it.
You're right.
So let your clients know
Yeah.
that you can do a lot for them. They got to be part of the game.
Yeah.
They have to be
Yeah.
part of the game.
And it doesn't happen without that.
Gotta be part
Without
of
that
it.
foundation, there's, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you all. Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, just like looking back on it, I think everybody thinks it's a very successful campaign. But is there any parts of it that were either less effective than you thought, or actually surprised you how effective they were, or is there anything that you would not do in the future for a similar campaign, or something that you
Do
think
better.
you left out?
Yeah, this was really soup to nuts. It really was. I mean, this week we covered all, you saw that circle of all the media that we use, so we put that. The social media probably was more effective than we thought it would. And we're big into social media, but it really, the topic had been discussed for how long? How long had this project been talked about?
30 years.
Well, the work we've done here,
I mean,
it's been about a year.
Around for 30 years. You've been around for years.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I think that interest was peaked so high because of all of the discussion that it really lent itself to people looking for more information online and socially. So that was really something we probably didn't expect it to be as successful as it was. And then the old school maps. I tell you
Yeah.
what, it is just it's a funny
I
thing.
think just from watching it day to day too, the decals for the cars weren't as accepted.
Yeah.
I think as much as
Probably.
Probably. But one's on my car outside,
Yeah.
but there aren't many out there.
Yeah.
You know, not a lot of money spent,
Yeah.
worth every bit of the effort. But on the other hand, I think the door hangers were more successful. And if we were to do it again for another project, I would say, okay, let's save the money on the decals and do 2 different times with the door hangers. Because I had a lot of people who would tell me, yeah, I got this on my door, so I went to the website or I did something else. But the phone wasn't ringing off the hook to get the decals.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we met, early on, you're on the board? Oh, you're with the city.
Yeah.
We met with the board of supervisors, and when we told them about the door hangers, they're like, "Oh my gosh, how are you going to do this? Where are you going to do them? Am I going to get calls from my constituents?" And I don't think anybody got any calls.
Oh, we got some calls.
Oh, you did from people getting the door hanger? Oh, I shouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah. No, not bad. Well, no, not bad call. You know, JR, in addition to this work that you do with the Business Assistance Committee, SIR does this kind of general awareness survey before and after for VDOT,
Yes.
which you did here, and I think John came and talked a little bit about that once. But you're going to get ready to do the backside of that survey. Can you just tell these folks a little bit about what's that about?
Yeah,
and how that
we just got that
information-
approval last week or
Right.
2 weeks ago from
Right.
VDOT. And that's actually going to, in lieu of, you've been in those discussions, that's going to be really Route 29 research.
Yes.
But we'll be able to target this area.
So you'll know more about what types of communication was effective
Yeah.
overall from the project, Route 29
Yeah.
project point of view.
Yeah, I wish we could have done it closer to the completion of this project. It just would have been, just more timely, but we're glad that we're able to.
Well, when that's
do
over,
it.
we should have back for a report out for
Yeah, I'd love
for
to do
that
that.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, okay. Thanks, you all. Hope everybody has a great holiday.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thanks. I think that's it, isn't it, Linda? You don't need to. Yeah. Well, any wrap up? Henry?
Yeah. We just had this presentation, slapping ourselves in the back, how well we did on this project, from the advertising, the business point of view, the drive-around maps, the project was done quicker than expected, there was a lot of night work that was done. Then we have Hillsdale. And what are we doing there? We're
What
going to
was-
shut off roads for 2 months?
No, we're looking at options. We are looking at options to reduce that amount of time. We are actively looking at spending some additional money to reduce that amount of time.
Okay, but it's still got to be cut off.
For some period of
Less
time,
but
yes.
still.
Yes.
And what are we doing there to let people know how to get there, rather than finding a barrier? And
I think Jeanette has followed the Lou Hatter model. She's been visited all the businesses. You have maps, signs. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Visited all 18 businesses and met with the owners or the managers, handed out my business card, provided a detour map that helps those 18 businesses know how to get to their business, let customers know how to get there. We're also installing 3 signs, one on hydraulic, traveling south before Seminole Port, another on hydraulic in front of Kroger, and another on hydraulic on the other side, between Mickey and Brandywine.
And can we see those maps and can we see those signs?
Yes, I provided them at the last meeting, but I can give you a copy
Okay.
of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we are looking at some other options to possibly spend some additional money to reduce the amount of time that the streets in the area of the roundabout would be closed. We frankly just started on that today. We had to get some analysis performed that were finished yesterday, and we just started having some conversations today.
Fortunately, if you look at Solutions 29 as a total, there's money in the budget left to do a few things.
We're looking to see what we can do.
Well, let's say,
Yeah.
I feel that this part of the project is a little bit like the poor relation, at least looking from the outside. Now, if you're doing stuff,
We're
that's-
looking at some stuff to see what we can do. Chris?
In addition, on a related note, the city has a marketing match program for construction impacted projects of this type, and we are working with Seminole Square Management, who's hired a local firm to do a campaign.
Ah, okay.
And so we're matching a portion of their funds for a marketing campaign that'll start
Okay.
in January.
All right.
Good here.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear more.
Good. Okay, thank you. Mark? William?
So I'll just follow up from JR's presentation and what y'all were just saying. I know Lee and her staff also started with a baseline of sales data in the Route 29 construction area, and as that data becomes more and more available, be able to compare, from a business standpoint, how sales were prior, during, and then
Good.
to look from a sales standpoint. All of this looks like it worked out really, really well.
Right,
Everything we've
exactly.
heard from the businesses on the subcommittee, sales were
Yeah.
looking pretty constant, but we'll have some data to.
So we'll be able to answer the so what.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
and I'll jump on back of that with saying that top line sales doesn't necessarily translate into bottom line.
I understand. No, I agree.
Because a lot of these businesses
Yeah.
spent 3 or 4 times their marketing
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
on top of everything else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that feedback is going to be all positive. But top line sales isn't going to show
Yeah.
you. There might be a 6% increase in top line sales, but there might be a
Yeah.
10% loss in
I understand. Yeah.
A lot of times that doesn't come through in the
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand.
The other thing is the long-term impact of the project, because during construction, at least all the traffic on 29 was still in front of your door. Now, for some of those businesses, only half of the traffic is in front of their door, the other half is at the underpass, and they never see them. And that impact really is after construction.
Yeah. But just, it's nearly impossible
It
to
is.
compare because
Yeah.
then there's so many variables.
Well, you're not going to get bottom line.
The economy. Yeah, are you going to go?
Right. Well, Chip, thanks for being a good steward
No.
of of those monies. It's not every day the state will hand over a couple $100,000 and say, you have at it. And I think it was darn good for John and VDOT to take that approach, and you were a good steward of the money. So thanks. Anything else, Chip? Pete?
Maybe I should have brought a couple of these up at the beginning. I'll try to rattle through them, and you can get back on some of each one. Joel, this one's for you. Still a significant increase in the U-turn demand at Woodbrook, north on 29. And I think a lot of that is coming, and this is just anecdotal from my frequent travels up there, but more than half the time I'm approaching that, the left turn lane, because the two lanes turn left, has backed up into the 29 north through. I assume that's still being monitored and adjusted on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, one of the things that we've not completed there yet, I think we talked about maybe a month ago or so, is our traffic engineering division has their on-call consultant doing a model of the intersection that'll tell us if we should go ahead and make some changes to the traffic light there. It'll really better accommodate the side street flow. But what you do by better accommodating the side street flow is you really free up some green time for those left turn lanes.
Okay.
Plus, they've done some coordination with the next signal up there.
Just tell me it's being worked on.
The work's not complete,
Okay.
and hopefully I will have some more information in January about where we're going with that. But
I think that as people learn the patterns, it might help. It might come down a little bit, but now that it's been in for several months, it doesn't seem to substantially be coming down.
And the other change we're going to see is we were told by the end of this year you'd have those midday and afternoon offset green times would change, and we might see some changes result at the intersection because of those also, but that's still in the works also. So I'll try, we are keeping an eye on it as the answer. I'll try and have some more information for you in January.
And then the magic signals, all of the
Adaptive?
all of that, is that in play? Are we?
No, it's not. The plan was for that phase 2 to be in play post completion of all the projects, October. But what Dave and I have talked about is that if Lane Corman is going to finish early, we need to be talking to the traffic operation folks about figuring out how to accelerate the phase 2 of the adaptive signals.
So none of it is in play now on 29?
No.
Okay. No. Because it seems, and you and I have talked about this a lot over the months, but it just seems like one day it's a different challenge at a different intersection. Greenbrier recently has been a real challenge, just in the timing of everything. When you go red light from, in this case, traveling south on 29 at Fashion Square or 29th Place, then you get a green, and then the next one turns red. And this is in high volume times. So maybe this will all be taken care of on the magic system.
Well, I think a lot of it is still a lot of monitoring and tweaking to
They
that.
think the offset green times are working much better in the AM peak hour right now. What we know that needs change is the midday and the afternoon. So if you're seeing that occur in the midday and the afternoon, was that?
Yes,
that's what we expect to see changes. And what we were told was those offsets would be completed by the end of this year. I don't have an update as of today on that. But it is the midday and the afternoon that we're still having some issues there that you're aware of, and we're working on.
Well, I think what we need to do is talk to Dean or somebody and say we need a schedule for how this is going to roll out.
So the two things we need schedules on are the Woodbrook intersection specifically on this change, the
Yeah,
phase,
I mean,
and then the offset green times for the midday and PM peaks.
Some plan.
I think that now that the public has seen the PR, the campaign of, hey, this is complete.
Yeah.
And we still see these choke points.
Sure.
We might start getting some pushback, or an explanation would be helpful. That it's coming.
Okay.
And one more thing, I've noticed just as I go through, there's some random, what look like temporary construction signage in the median throughout the Rio project. In front of Colonial Auto Center, there's a no left turn lane where the old cut through used to be. The U-turn in front of Myers Drive. if you're coming south, you'll see a no left turn lane kind of just floating there in the middle of I don't know if there's other stuff around the project that might, Morgan, I thought maybe you'd bring this up. But maybe we can review the area just to see if there's signs that could come down.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Morgan, you've been so quiet. Maybe you got used to it.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, Pete?
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Well, hey, our next meeting is January 19th, and I think both the secretary and the commissioner want to come to that meeting in January. So if, well, put it this way, I know both the secretary and the commissioner want to come to the meeting in January. So if you can get that on your calendars and kind of keep that date clean, it would be great to see you here. I think we'll have a few more people from Lane Corman here. That day would be good too. Chris, if you could maybe mention that to Jason and maybe Rich McDonough or Mr. Lane, to whoever. Hey, look, thank you. I really can't believe another year has whipped by. Everybody has their own way of saying it, which is cool. My way is Merry Christmas, so watch yourselves over the holiday. Be safe and be careful, and we'll see you in Jan. Take care. All righty.
You need to stop and